Okay. The Mishnah had said that if you have yesh kiddushin vein avera, the marriage works, and it's not a marriage which has any aspect of transgression relating to it. What is the halacha? The Mishnah says the child identifies with the male. With the male. So the Gemara asks the question, so if you have a ger who marries a mamzeris, so it's yesh kiddushin vein avera. So if you identify with the male, so the ger is not a mamzer. The wife is a mamzer, he's permitted to the mamzeris. So what should the child be? A legitimate child, but yet everybody agrees that what? That the child's a mamzer. But the Mishnah says the only time you go after the defect, that's only if yesh avera. Yesh kiddushin v'yesh avera. So it's contrary to what? To the principle stated in the Mishnah. So Morris says, the Mishnah is going like Rabbi Yehuda, that he says that a ger is not permitted to marry a mamzeris. Okay? Therefore, a ger marrying a mamzeris is yesh kiddushin v'yesh avera. Therefore, the defect of the mother is transferred onto the child. That was the first answer to Gemara. Now we're going Rabbi Yossi. Gemara says no, could go like Rabbi Yossi. A ger is permitted to marry a mamzeris. It's ein avera. So it's ein avera. Why isn't it contradictory to the principle? The principle says, holchem achar zocher, you go after the male. So why is the child the mamzer? So now the Gemara answers, Olam Rabbi Yossi, v'tona e zu, e zel, zo. The Gemara says, and what is it? What's an example of yesh kiddushin ve'ein avera? The kiddushin is effective, and there's no sin. It's not a sinful union. Kohen Levi Yisrael. This is the so ezu zu, meaning this principle only applies to these three cases. But if it would be another case, such as ger marrying a mamzeris, although it's yesh kiddushin ve'ein avera, the defect will transfer onto the child. That's exactly which is being communicated through the words, and this is the example. This and no other example. Okay? Lemute, so that's an exclusion. Okay? Someone asks, what? No, we're saying even though it has the same profile as Kohen Levi Yisrael, nevertheless, in that context, the defect transfers. Okay? So the Mishnah, so the way Rabbi Yehuda Anossi presented the Mishnah, it's not contradictory to the principle. Because Rabbi Yehuda Anossi is telling this principle only applies to these three particular cases. Kohen Levi Yisrael. Wait, we'll get there. Someone asks, very cholo shenosa bas Yisrael. Right? You have a cholol, a person, the male's a cholol, he's the son of he's a ben Grusha, and he marries a kosher Jewess. Bas Yisrael. The yesh kedushin vein avera. It's permitted to marry an ordinary Jewish woman. He's permitted. Havlat holech achar azocher. Okay, there we say the child. Let's say it's a daughter. The daughter's not a chalola. A cholol marries a Jewish woman, a regular Jewish woman. They have a daughter. That daughter is permitted to marry Kohen Gadol, the high priest. So you see, it's not limited to the three cases, right? The Mishnah said, we just answered, it's ezo zo. It's an exclusion. These and no other case. We have a case. A chol who marries a bas Yisrael, so it's yesh kedushin ve'ein avera, and yet we have another case, holchem achar zocher. You go after the male. Excuse me. Ve'ein holech achar no ve'ein avera holech achar zocher chol shenos bas Yisrael the yesh kedushin ve'ein avera havlo holech achar zocher. We don't go after the male. Wait. No. The ger is not a problem. Here, the one who has the defect is the male. Right? So here we have a case. Cholol, he's the problem, marries a kosher woman. That daughter is permitted to marry a Kohen. The child is a kosher, the daughter is a kosher woman, she can marry a Kohen.
So it goes after her.
Right? But it's a yesh kedushin ve'ein avera. What? You should go after the defect. Because we're saying anything but these cases. Right? 1 second. It's irrelevant. It's a kolshke. It's a kolsh. So now he'll have a daughter, the great granddaughter. No, wait. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Right. I understand that. No, that's exactly. No, we're going to say in a minute. No, it's a havlat holich achar azocher. It does, even though it's a permitted marriage. So we have another case where you're going after the male. That's the question. The Mishnah says we have three examples where you go after the male. I have a fourth case. You go after the male. The mother's a kosher Jewess, and I'm going after the male because the daughter is disqualified. So now the Gemara answers, "Holo kasha." That case doesn't exist. Why? Because the Mishnah is going according to opinion that even when the father's a cholol, the daughter is permitted to the Kohen. Reb Destoy ben Yehuda, Sviralei. Okay? Reb Destoy ben Yehuda says when the cholol marries a kosher woman, the daughter is a kosher, is qualified to marry a Kohen. So we only have three cases where you go after the male. Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. This case, we're not going after the male. Someone says, Harei Yisrael shnos chalolo. Okay. What about if the Yisrael marries a chalolo? She's a bas grusha. Her mother was a divorcee. The yesh kiddushin ein aveiro. Havlar holei chachar azocher. So we have a problem. Even Reb Destoy Reb Yudu says if the father is a cholol, correct? No. With the previous case, we said the Mishnah Reb Destoy Reb Yehuda that if the father's a cholol, I don't go after the father. It's kosher, right? What about if the father marries a chalolo? Even though the mother is a chalolo, we say the daughter is permitted to a kohen. So we have another case of holchen achar zocher, where we ignore the defect of the blemish of the mother, and we identify the daughter with the father. No, she's permitted to marry, but she's permitted to marry a kohen. If she would identify with the mother, we have a problem. Then she's a chalolo. She's not permitted to marry a kohen. The mother's a chalolo. The father is a regular Jew. They have a daughter. That daughter is she permitted to a kohen. Everybody agrees she's permitted to a kohen. So what do you tell me? You only have three cases where you go after the zocher. I have a fourth case to go after the zocher. Chalola marrying an ordinary Jew. Their daughter is permitted to a kohen. Because even though the mother has the defect, her defect is not carrying on to the daughter. We identify the daughter with the father. Okay? Ve'ein haveira holei chachar. Right? Deish ve'ein haveira havlad holei chachar zocher. On that, the more answer is Tona kol mokum. The racial asuye. The Mishnah says, wherever you have kiddushin ve'ein haveira, then you identify with the zocher. So that kol, which is superfluous, that's always more inclusive, covers that case. That's alluding to the case where the Yisrael marries a chalola. Someone asks, the Nisti of the Hedger, so I want to say it explicitly. What do we have to allude to it? Be explicit. Mishum d'lo masnilo, because it says it doesn't fit into the statement. Because when it says, it states the principle, and then it presents the application. What is it? Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, right? Kohen is Levi of Yisrael, who marries one of the three, correct? In that context, everyone is qualified to marry any one of the three. A Kohenis can marry Yisrael, could marry a Kohen, could marry a Levi. A Bas Levi could marry ABC, and a Yisraelis could marry. What about in the case where you have a Cholol, a Chalola, right? She can't marry, and she can't marry the Kohen, right? She's not permitted. So because in terms of the application, it can't be within the grouping, therefore it's alluded to, right? Hechin isni. How should the Mishnah state it? Kohenes Levi Yisrael's bechalolo shenisas lekohen Levi Yisrael. We want to apply it within the context. Do you identify with the zocher? So the Gemara says bechalolo kohen michazia. Is a chalola permitted to a kohen? It's not permitted. So it can't be within that. No, within that statement, it cannot be stated in terms of its applications. Therefore, Rabbi Yudan Nossi, he alludes to it within the principle. Kol. Kol means there is another case which cannot be stated because it doesn't fit within the statement, which is also the equivalent of that. That whole chazach, that's Yisrael shenoso chalolo.
Does that mean there are other cases as well?
Yeah, we'll see in a moment. There could be other cases. Could be just as alludes to this, could allude to other cases. And for the same reason, the other cases also cannot be stated, because tomorrow will say, so want to say it explicitly. Tomorrow says, V'ika the Rabbi B'chono. We have another case. The Rabbi B'chono, the Omer, Rabbi B'chono, Omar. And this is the other case. Rabbi B'chono, Omer, Rabbi Yochanan. Said the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Now we discussed, just to end it off, the Torah says that a Mitzri, a person converts. He's an Egyptian, he converts to be a Jew. So what he's called Mitzri Rishon. He's the first generation of a Jewish Egyptian. He converted from a Gentile Egyptian to become a Jew. Now he has a child. Let's say him and his wife converted. So both him and his wife are first generation Egyptians who are Jews. They have a child. That child is a second generation Egyptian. That child has a child, it's the third generation Egyptian. Torah says until the third generation, although the person is a Jew, it's considered illegitimate. That Jew cannot marry, that Egyptian convert, or even the child of a convert, cannot marry an ordinary Jew, a kosher Jew. It's only the third generation is permitted. Right? Dor Shlishi, the third generation, is permitted to marry among Jews.
So the first generation Egyptian convert could marry a regular Jewish?
No. A convert.
No, sorry, I meant a convert.
Convert can marry a mamzer or mamzeris.
Right, yeah.
So that's not a problem. But let's say of their own ilk, of their own category. An Egyptian can marry whoever it may be. Let's make it simple. First generation is not permitted. Second generation is not permitted. Third generation is permitted. So let's say you have the man is a second generation Egyptian. His father was the convert, and he marries a first generation convert. So, if we say that where it's yesh kiddushin in avera, where the kiddushin works and it's not sinful, it's not a sinful union, you identify with the zocher. So, what should the child be? A third generation Egyptian. So it's a third generation Egyptian. It would be good. So we have another case, right? We have another case where you go after the zocher, where it identifies with the male, because if you identify with the mother, it's a second generation Egyptian. Okay, so that's the first question. The male is second generation Mitzri, and he married a woman who was the convert. She converted to become a Jew, an Egyptian woman. B'no shlishi habi. The son is a third generation, which is permitted. So why doesn't it state that case in the Mishnah?
How do we know? Why do we say that we can go after the mother who's the first generation Egyptian? Why would we go after the father the second generation? If the mother was the second generation Egyptian convert and the father was the first generation.
Wait, let's not get complicated. Let's first state, we're quoting, this is Rabbi B'chana in name of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi B'chana says name of Rabbi Yochanan. The father, second generation, the mother, first generation. The child is third generation. So he's saying, Rabbi Yochanan is saying, that's what he's saying. Okay. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, why does the Mishnah state this case? 1 second. What? Well, 1 second. Let's state this in a moment. Some more answers the same thing. Just as we said, the case of a Yisrael marrying a Chalola, that daughter is permitted to a Kohen, and it's alluded through Kol Mokom, right? Identically here. Torah Kol Mokom Dereisha Lasuye. The Kol Mokom, wherever you find where there's kiddushin and it's a permitted marriage, that is included in that statement. Same thing, the same answer. That's what we're answering. It doesn't only include one case, it includes multiple cases. Samar says, Ula Rabdimi D'Omer Sheni Habik. Rabdimi argues, see, there was an argument, what Rabbi Yochanan said. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan said that it's a third generation Egyptian. Ula Rabdimi D'Omer Sheni Habo. According to Rabdimi, who says no, that even if the father is a second generation Egyptian, if the mother's first generation, it identifies with the mother. So the child is a second generation. So we have a problem with the Mishnah. Because based on the principle of the Mishnah, it's Yesh Kedushin, Bein Aveiro. You should identify with the male. So how do we reconcile with the Mishnah? What's the answer? The answer is Tana, Ezo Lemute. As we said, ger marrying a mamzeres. What did we say? Even though it's yesh kiddushin ve'ein aveira, yet we say the child's a mamzer. So we said no, because it's an exclusion, because it's a zu. These are the three examples, but there are cases where there's no aveira, and there's kiddushin, and we still, the defect, the defect of the mother is transferred onto the child. Doesn't make a difference factually. Nobody argues. Everybody agrees. A ger marries a mamzeres, the child's a mamzer. It's yesh kiddushin ve'ein aveira, right? The answer is because the Mishnah reviewed them. Nasi, he covered for that. These are the three examples. So good, so you have to know what fits into the call and what's fit here. It's not a problem. So it's contrary to the Mishnah. So we have no problem because Reb Yudan Nasi, he stated in a way, he's telling you there are cases, although the union is a valid union and it's not sinful, you still identify with the mother. Because he says it's only these three cases, nobody argues, where the child identifies with the father. The Amorah. The Amorah. These are Amorah. No, it's Reb Yochanan. Okay.
One group is saying you follow the father in this particular case.
Right.
Another is you follow the mother. So why would Rebbe have set up the mission in such a way where you could have such an effect?
No, it's not a problem. They can't argue with Rebbe. Amoron can't argue. Rebbe is stating it now. But they have to reconcile their position with the Mishnah. If the Mishnah indicates differently, they're saying that means they're making a mistake. So we have a Mishnah which seems to be contradictory to Rav Dimi. Right? How could Rav Dimi say that if the mother is a first generation Egyptian? The child's a second generation. If the marriage is a valid marriage and it's not a sinful marriage, you should identify with the father. And it seems Rav Yudan Nasi says differently. The Mishnah says different. He says, no. Rav Yudan Nasi, he covered for my case by saying Ezu. That's how we're reconciling. That's how he reconciles the Mishnah with his position. The others is not a problem because it's included in the kol. There are other cases.
Back to my question. Rebbe, who was a master of the halacha, is trying to set up, this is the way we do it.
Okay. Throughout Shas, you have machlokes amoroim. So just see what Rebbe is saying. Look at the Mishnah. The Gemara elucidates the Mishnah, right? That's the purpose of the Gemara. Yet we find arguments how to interpret what was Rebbe actually saying. See, Rebbe didn't present it at a level where you don't need the Gemara. You need the Gemara. So there has to be a certain degree of what? Lack of understanding. We always said this. Factually, this is Torah Sheba'al Peh. Torah Sheba'al Peh has to be committed to memory. If Rabbi Yudan Nasi would have fleshed it out totally, then already it's no longer Torah Sheba'al Peh. That aspect of being committed to memory is no longer there. So he wrote it in a very concise way, which everything's included. But you have to have other knowledge to be able to elucidate the Mishnah. Good. So there's a certain ambiguity at a certain level to the Mishnah. So is Rabbi Yudan Nasi saying like I'm saying, or is he saying like you're saying?
Wrote the Mishnah. Question: is this person a third or a second generation? And that is a very big.
Sure, it's open. It's open for discussion. Even if Rabbi Yudan Nasi stated the Mishnah, it's still open for discussion.
I think that he would state it in a way that makes that clear as to use that as a major halachic argument.
Okay. It's always same thing. Correct. That's always this way. But that's throughout. Otherwise, you can never have an argument in the Gemara. If Yudan Nasi is the last word, he stated the Mishnah what it is, there's no argument. Nothing's open for argument. Unless it's something which is not discussed in the Mishnah.
This is pretty obvious.
There are many things which should be obvious. Okay? Not if Mishnah. Either they'll, as long as the Mishnah is not, if the Mishnah is contradictory to what they're saying, then it's a problem. Exactly. That's exactly what the Gemara is saying. That is what the Gemara is saying. You don't, based on your Masorah. The Gemara is asking it as a question. I'll prove to you Masorah is incorrect. The Mishnah states differently. No, it's not contradictory because there's an aspect of the Mishnah which includes there are other cases. There's inclusions and there are exclusions. That's an inclusion, and Ezu is an exclusion. Exactly. But you will see the Gemara Nomad Beis. The Gemara is going to ask a question. According to one interpretation, the Sefer becomes a problem. Becomes a problem because there we have nothing. We have no case. We'll see in a minute. Yeah, we could have multiple. No, kol is inclusion. Ezu. But Ezu could be no. These are the cases. See, if you say Ezu, these are the cases are permitted. So we have it with the Gemara. We have another case, but it doesn't fit because this woman cannot marry a Kohen. So you have no choice but to include it in the code. Okay, let's go a little further. Somewhere asks, V'ho'ika, we have something else, another case. This is a very interesting halacha. Ki osa Ravin Amar Rabbi Yochanan. When Ravin came, we find this throughout Shas, you had Amoraim, they would travel between Eretz Yisrael and Bavel. So they would travel from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yochanan was in Eretz Yisrael. So when he would return, he would tell over what he had studied, what he had learned from Rabbi Yochanan. The Chiyasa Rovin, Omer Rabbi Yochanan, Be'umos holoch achar hazocher. Now, the Torah says the 7 nations of Canaan. It says Los Chai Kol Neshama. That be annihilated. Correct? Los Chai Kol Neshama. So what happens if you have a person from elsewhere, not part of the nations, and his wife is a chivi. He marries a chivi. An Irishman marries a chivi. An Irishman marries an Amalekis, right? And they have a child. What is that child? Does the child identify with the father, or does the child identify with the mother? No, it doesn't make a difference. But this pedigree, I mean, Torah says you have to destroy. No kiddushin, no kiddushin. Right. But we speak how Hezron does. Pre-conversion. A person marries one of the 7 nations of Canaan. The female is one of the 7 nations, Los Chai Neshama. The mother has to be killed. They have a child. Does the child identify with the pedigree of the mother or with the pedigree of the father? Okay, that's the discussion. So it says, Bu'umos, regarding the nations of the world. Holach achar hazocher. The pedigree identifies with the paternal line. So even though the mother is one of the 7 nations that has to be annihilated, the child, because he identifies with the father, does not have to be annihilated. Has nothing to do. We're talking about what's the classification of nationality. Is the nationality one of the 7 nations of Canaan?
I would say that a person from whom the death sentence has been decreed could be like a walking dead man.
No, it's not a death sentence. There's aloha. Amalek has to be annihilated. A man marries an Amalekis, a woman who's an Amaleki. Now they have a child, and he is not an Amaleki. But it's not a question. It's similar to, there's a carryover to the child. So we say pre-conversion does not carry over. Whatever the father is, that's what the child is. That's the statement here. Umos, regarding nationalities, non-Jews, the nationality is always identified by the paternal side, never by the maternal side.
Regardless of whether there's a blemish.
Correct. There is a very serious blemish. Correct.
The way our mission is
Okay, good. But good. The blemish we're speaking about in regard, are you permitted to marry? This is, do you have to kill them? Right? Forever. Call it what you want. Call it what you want. Call it blemish. If a person has this identity, let's talk about identity. If you have this identity, person's subject to be killed. If you don't have that identity, you don't. So the mother is that, the father is not that. So that identity, does the child assume the identity of the mother or the identity of the father? That's the discussion. So Rabbi Yochanan says pre-conversion, The identity is always the identity of the father, never the mother, regardless of what the mother is. What? Okay, you're asking me. What? It's totally irrelevant. What happens if you put milk in meat and it falls into 10,000 things of muktzah? Has no relevance to discussion right now. Okay? This gyra. What about these same people? What about if they converted? Converted. Holoch achar apogum. The Gemara discussed the case on Amud Beis. What it means. Converted before. No children. No. They're both converts. The father's a convert, the mother's a convert, now they convert. Right. Okay? 1 second. The first case is the child was born before conversion. Before conversion. After conversion. Okay? We'll see in a moment. Now, the Torah says there's certain people, let's say it says, Lo yovo amoni b'kal Hashem. A person who's a descent from the Ammonite people, Lo yovo b'kal Hashem. Forever. But we say Ammoni v'lo Ammonis. Moavi v'lo Moavis. It's only the male, not the female. So the Gemara is going to have a case. After he converts, an Ammoni converts. He's an illegitimate Jew. He can never marry. Now he marries a woman who's Ammonis. An Ammoni marries an Ammonis. And they have a daughter. They have a daughter. Is the daughter... If it's a daughter, it's not a problem, because again, she's an Ammonis, even if she takes on the identity of the father. Let's say they have a son. They have a son. The mother is a kosher Jew. Who does the child identify with? With the father. The son is an Ammoni, even though the mother is a permitted Jew, so the mother has no blemish, even though she's called Ammonis, but that's not a blemish. So then, Hakol Chachar Zocher. Right? The male... Well, we'll see. Holach achar pogum, whatever the pogum is. So over there. Yeah, but again, we don't need it because that's the male. We're talking with the mother. Because the mother's going to have to come up with a case. What's the case where you go after the pogum? We're saying pre-conversion, it's always the male. Post-conversion, it's even the mother. So what blemish does the mother have? So it should be a mitzvah. An Ammoni marries a mitzvah. Okay? No, but then it's a problem because he has a blemish, she has a blemish. They both have blemishes. He's not permitted. We're talking about a case, the same people converted both. They both converted. Yisrael, we're talking about yesh kiddushin ve'ein aveira. It's a permitted marriage. The marriage is effective and there's no sin aspect to the marriage. No, he could convert, but he's illegitimate. He's like a mamzer. No, it means they cannot marry, assimilate among kosher Jews. No. Definitely.
Is he a Jew?
He's a Jew, full Jew. He's an illegitimate Jew. Correct.
Same with
Same thing. The male is illegitimate, the female is illegitimate Jewess. That was the whole thing, you know. There's a famous Brisker Rav. Originally, there was Ploni Almoni. He had first rights to marry Rus. Once he passed on it, then Boaz came into the picture. So he says he doesn't want to destroy his nachla. He doesn't want to marry because he's afraid it'll destroy his so-called his portion. So the Brisker Rav, the whole discussion into the Gemara in Yevomis. Originally, Doeg, who was David's detractor? David's detractor was Doeg Adomi. So originally, when the discussion came that David's going to be chosen to be the king, he says he's an illegitimate Jew. He says Lo Yovo Amoni Moavi B'Kal Hashem. He's descendant of a Moavi. His grandmother was a Moabite, so he's not qualified to be the king. And they went back and forth endless times over, and they couldn't respond to Doeg until finally a person, his name was Yishmael something, and he was referred to that because he wore a sword on his waist, a saber, and he says Kach Kublani Bezdinu Shel Shmuel Haramosi. I have tradition from Shmuel Hanovi. Amoni v'lo Amonis, Moavi lo Moav. And anybody who doesn't accept this transmission, he will be pierced with my sword. That's what he says. So that's what the Ploni Almani was concerned, that if the Masorah should be forgotten, he'll be destroying his family. Because his family will be rejected. They'll be classified as illegitimate Jews. Boaz was not concerned about that. It's not ruled. He's part of the Masorah. It's Halocha Moshe Sinai. Halocha, the Gemara says Halocha Moshe Sinai. It was ordained at Sinai. No, it was forgotten. Nobody knew it. He was testifying that it's the tradition. It's Halocha Moshe Sinai. Boaz knew it. But that concern was the future. What should be forgotten? It becomes problematic. And we find many times. The Gemara says in Megillah, Matzapach. Right? There's certain letters where they could be written as in the middle of the word, at the end of the word. If it's the middle of the word, it's an open letter. If it's the end of the word, it's a closed letter. Called Matzapach. So Gemara says originally it was forgotten. Matzapach. Because if you write a closed mem in the middle of a word, it's not a valid writing in a Sefer Torah.
You say that Shmuel HaNavi wrote the book of Ruth. And he wrote the book of Ruth to basically lay out the progeny, the whole pedigree.
Because that had to do with the show.
The book was present at the time of Bilam. Because Shmuel at this point, the history has passed on. He's no longer around when this machloket is happening.
Between Doeg and David.
Yes.
Correct, he passed on.
But the book of Ruth is there.
So he said Boaz was permitted. Boaz made a mistake. He said Boaz was not permitted to marry her.
But why did Shmuel write the book?
He just said. He said that he married her.
He's saying that the book of Ruth is what Shmuel wrote is false.
No, that's false. Not false.
I mean, the conclusion.
What does it say? He doesn't say it was legitimate. Doesn't say it was legitimate.
The book of Ruth ends with this. Here is the Davidic line. Okay, so if Shmuel is the author of that, he would never have said such a thing if there was a question about it. If it was not legitimate.
Saying it's factual, so you should only this stuff. It doesn't mean that it's going to be mellow.
Yeah, it doesn't say that he's going to be the king.
You're just giving a lineage.
He's giving you the lineage of David. There were other families. There were other lines. Yishai was not the only line from Yehuda. There were other families. This is the Davidic line, but he says the Davidic line isn't a legitimate line. That's what Doeg was saying. Doeg was saying what Boaz did was an illegal marriage. That's what he was saying. So this person says no. It's not only because Shmuel wrote it. Because I attest, it's been tradition from Shmuel. At Sinai it says it's only the male, not the female.